Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. Today's host is going to be Dan Keller. Dan Keller, are you available?
I am right here.
Welcome. We are happy to have you today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks, Marcy.
All right, Dan, we are live, so all the viewers can now see your screen. If you want to go ahead and go into slideshow mode, and you can kick off the interview.
Right on. All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Tuesday Mortgage Coach interview. Obviously, I am not Dave Savage. I am Dan Keller. I am a mortgage loan originator up here in the Seattle marketplace with New American Funding. And today we have a very, very interesting guest, somebody that I am really excited to talk to and learn from, but somebody that I am very excited to interview. We have Katie Wagner. She's a social media consultant, and she's going to talk to us about how loan officers specifically can amplify their message, what we do really well as mortgage loan officers, and get that message out. You know, we've got a very unique opportunity with social media today where we can leverage our time. There is an abnormal amount of people on social media right now, a high level of people on social media, and what we say and what we do and how we interact can really leverage what we're doing as sales professionals. So, hey, Katie, real quick, I want to introduce you real quickly. Katie, you on the call?
I am. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Really excited to have you on. I kind of want to do some, like Dave does, some house cleaning items here real quickly up front. For all of the listeners listening in today, really want to encourage everybody to post your questions. If you have questions during the call, up in your toolbar, you can, in your GoToMeeting toolbar, you can type a question and submit it, and we've got a great crew behind the scenes that will send those over to me. We can either address those, or we're also trying to do for Dave Savage and the Mortgage Coach crew is bring questions in, and then between myself and Katie and the crew, get feedback on the next coaching call. So I want to encourage you to do that. I also want to encourage all Mortgage Coach listeners to take advantage of a lot of the coaching and the training that Mortgage Coach has. Every single Tuesday, Dave Savage and the Mortgage Coach crew brings a ton of value. They bring professionals in from our industry, both the lending and the real estate industries, and like today, outside of our industries, to arm us with more information so we can go out and be better sales professionals, better mortgage professionals, and add more value to our real estate professionals that we do business with, and financial planners and insurance professionals as well. So I want to encourage you to tune in every Tuesday for that. The other thing that I really want to spend a little bit of time on today talking about is how mobile is really taking over our industry right now. Dave talks about it a lot. I specifically, I'm down in the trenches every single day. Up here in the Seattle markets, it's a high-tech marketplace with obviously Amazon and Microsoft being up here, and Google now flooding in Seattle, as well as Facebook and all the little smaller tech companies that support those companies. The use of mobile, the use of video, and leveraging social media throughout those platforms is more important than ever. So Mortgage Coach Edge, the mobile aspect of it is phenomenal. You can share your content, you can share your information. Like on this slide, it's shareable, and the great thing about it is realtors love it. It's great from a branding standpoint. As far as Mortgage Coach training, every single day of the week, you can tune into something that will help you enhance how you use Mortgage Coach Edge and the products that Mortgage Coach has for us. So I encourage you to visit Mortgage Coach website, and that's where I was at 6-7 years ago when I first started using Mortgage Coach. All of the coaching, the training that Mortgage Coach had to offer, and the rest is history. So invest in your business. Invest in learning how to roll this great tool out, and take it from there. I want to start also with a disclaimer. Listen, we all work for different mortgage companies. Each mortgage company has their own social media policy, so please check to make sure, please check with your company, your bank, before you go necessarily rolling out some of the things we're going to talk about today, because I don't want to be responsible for getting anybody in trouble. So like I said, Katie Wagner, she is a social media consultant. I had an opportunity to talk with Katie last night at length, and the word impressed, it doesn't do justice. What she's doing and her background is phenomenal. Listen, all you mortgage lenders and real estate agents on the call today, you're going to get a ton of value out of this. So the way I've kind of structured today's interview is we've got Katie. She's put together a handful or two of slides. I'd like her to go over some of the information she's put together. I've reached out to some top loan officers across the country. We've got a couple of really good questions we're going to put you on the spot, Katie, because you don't know what we're going to ask you. But we're going to hit you up with those. But I want to hand the deck over to you real quick. Have you introduce yourself. Your story, your background is phenomenal, is amazing. And I'll come back in when you're done with these slides, okay?
All right, sounds good. Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be with you today and talk about social media. I actually live in Orange County, California. I own a digital marketing agency down here. And the thing that sets us apart is that we're all former journalists. So I built a team of journalists. I was a television anchor for 15 years before I started this agency. And the two things I learned as a television anchor were how to engage an audience and how to build my own credibility. And that's what all of you need to do in your businesses as well. And I started to learn that social media had an amazing set of tools to do those things. And so I was trained to use social as a journalist, used it throughout my career, and then when I retired about 6 years ago, I opened an agency, hired former journalists to help business owners tell their story online. And so that's really what I want to talk about today. How can you engage your audience and make connections that lead to more business for you? Because, doing social media is great, but we all want it to lead to something. So let's talk about why social media is important. Well, for starters, in the U.S., we spend 906 million hours a month on social networks. It is a lot of time. In fact, the majority of people who have an internet connection in the U.S. use at least one social media channel. So depending on who your customers are, no matter who they are, chances are you're going to find them on at least one of these channels. So it becomes a really great way to speak to prospects and customers and to build a community around your area of expertise. And the nice thing about social media is when customers are on there, it's leisure time. They're relaxed, they're open, they're looking at pictures of their best friend's vacation or their new grandkid. And so if you, as a professional, can build a connection with them there, it can be a really strong place to build that emotional tie. Social media is also great because it's a place where you can get a lot of community feedback. We can hear other people talk about you as a business or a business owner. People weigh in with reviews and comments and testimonials and those sorts of things. And so it can actually, outsider looking at you on social media, it can help build some trust and give them sort of an unbiased look at who you are as somebody they might want to do business with. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So I want you to think about your online marketing this way. You have a website for your business. Your website is your hub. And all of these things, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, newsletters, blogs, any social media channel you can think of there, these are the satellites around the hub. So these are places we can put content back out on the internet, have people find it, click on it, and we draw them back into our business to learn more. So I want you to think of social media as this pulling motion. We're pulling them into our business to learn more, and we're trying to get people who find us on social media to then give us a call or fill out a form on our website or make an appointment to come sit down with us. And that's sort of how it works. That website's the center, and all of these satellites work around it. And of course, you don't have to have every one of these things for it to work well. You could do it with one or two of the satellites. But sometimes social media is a little bit like potato chips. The more you have, the better it is. So there are two different ways of thinking about your website and your social media. And I want you to think about it this way. Your website is your credibility piece. That's the piece where people are going to find out about your services, maybe about your history and how they can do business with you, the products and services you offer. But your social media is your authenticity piece. And this is going to be where people find out what it's like to do business with you. So many of us on the call today do the same thing for a living. Many of us are loan officers. But it's different. It's a different experience. Even if you could sell me the same products or services, it's a different experience working with each and every one of you. So social media is where you're going to show me what that experience is like. And because it's a place where you're going to show me that authenticity piece, then it starts to build what we as marketers call the know, like, and trust factor. Have you heard marketers say that to you? People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so people start to get to know you. They start to build a rapport. And because of that, when they then click through to the website or go back to that hub, statistically, social media shortens the sales cycle by 40%. That means a sale that used to take 5 to 8 touches can now be closed in 3 to 4. So we know consumers are using these tools to do a lot of research these days, right? These days, 60% of research about a product or service takes place before they ever interact with the company. So the days of calling the company to get all the information, those are over, right? A lot of people do research online. They Google things. They look at websites. They look at social media. They get the information themselves before they ever contact you. And so your consumers are coming in from a much more educated standpoint. And where are they getting that education? Well, you can see on the screen there, 37% of the evaluations they make about your company come from things they read on social media. So there's no denying that these new tools are important. And if we can learn to harness them for our business, it can make a world of difference, not only in the amount of leads coming in, but how quickly we can close them. So one of the things that's important in making this happen is this concept called social proof. And social proof is this psychological phenomenon where we assume, it's just human nature, we assume that if we don't know what's going on in a situation, we assume everyone else must be right. They automatically know more than us. So it's the reason that if all of us were in a room together, and we were in person together, and I walked into the room and all of you were standing behind your chairs instead of sitting down, I would probably not just walk in and take a seat. I'd walk over and I'd stand behind a chair because I assume that all of you know more than I do about the current situation. And that's the same, if you think about it, it's the same phenomenon that means, or that says, if I need a plumber, let's say, and I don't know who to pick, but I read a lot of reviews online, and everyone says this one particular plumber is a good one and can help, then I assume that's a good plumber to pick, only because other people say so. And so that's how social proof works. And of course, it can work the other way too, right? It doesn't have to be positive social proof. If everyone says this isn't the plumber to pick, then I probably won't pick that person. And we see that at play on sites like Yelp or testimonials on LinkedIn, even all kinds of things that can pull the social proof into your social media presence. So here are 3 goals that I think you could have for social media. You know these tools are important. You want to make them work for your business. What are they actually going to do for you? So here are 3 things that I think social media can do. Number 1, it helps you be found online. Sometimes people call that SEO or search engine optimization. It means when people are Googling for your products and services, you want them to find your company, your business. And so it can do that. It can drive a lot of traffic to your website. It can get you in front of a lot of new eyeballs. So that's goal number 1. If you need to be exposed to a new audience and have people easily find you online, social media is a great tool for that. The second thing it can do is it can help you build relationships with your clients and prospects. When you're working a social media channel and building a community there, you're really welcoming all your existing clients and future clients, prospects, into a community around your brand, around your area of expertise. And one of the things you try to do over social media is really add value and teach them how to be better consumers of your industry. And the more you can do that and become a resource and let people join this community and ask questions and interact with others, and this is also where they see the social proof from other people who've said nice things about you, then you build this strong network that leads to not only clients, but also can lead to referrals and that sort of thing. So building a relationship with clients and prospects in hopes that you get more clients down the road. And then the third thing social's really good at is showcasing your own expertise, boosting your credibility. Social is a great place to paint yourself as a thought leader in your industry. It's somewhere where you can sort of prove your knowledge and put your expertise out there and stand out from all the other people that may offer the same products and services that you do. So social is a great place to put yourself out there as the expert and let people see that demonstrated knowledge. In order to do any of those three things, you got to have content on your social media, right? What you type on there is actually the most important part. And because I'm a journalist, I like to think of making posts on social media as telling the story of your business, telling your story and letting people connect with that. I don't like to necessarily call it sales or marketing because I feel like when you think of it that way, people tend to push too hard. They tend to put it too aggressively out there. I want you to think about that authenticity piece, that telling people what it's like to work with you, telling them why you got into this business, why you love it and what you love about it and what makes you great at it on a daily basis. So I refer to this as telling memorable stories on social media. Because really, the best thing that can happen to you in your business is for people to talk about you when you're not. What if you guys hang up from this call and you all go back to the office this afternoon and to someone sitting there you say, hey, did you know Americans spend 906 million hours a month on social media? And whoever you're talking to says, no, where'd you hear that? And you say, well, Katie Wagner told us. Is that good for my business? Absolutely. Absolutely, because you're talking about me when I'm not around. And so by telling memorable stories or making memorable posts on social media, we want to create a scenario where people go back to the water cooler at work or back to the dinner table that night and repeat things they've learned from you. And sometimes it means sharing it or commenting on it or liking it on social media itself, but it doesn't have to mean that. It can also mean taking that information and just telling someone over dinner. That's also really great for your business. So memorable stories have three characteristics. So when you're thinking about your posts on social media, I want you to think about these things. First, they add value. They teach people something. At my agency, we have a rule. It's called the 75-25 rule. And that means that 75% of everything we post has a way to go deeper attached. It has a picture, a link, or a video. So if somebody wants more information, they can always explore it further. So you want to make your posts things that are always teaching people things that they can remember and share and use that information. Because if you're always teaching them something, they may not remember everything they learned from you, but they will remember where they learned it. They will remember that your page is a page where they always get good information, and that keeps them coming back. So the second thing memorable stories do is they raise questions. Many of you have probably gotten unsolicited advice, right? This is something that happens a lot. When I was a television anchor, people used to come up to me in the grocery store and tell me to wear more lipstick. All the time this would happen. They'd say, are you Katie Wagner? Oh, yes, I am. You need to wear more lipstick. And I said, thank you, and tried to walk away quickly. Because people like to weigh in, right? They like to tell you what they think. And because I was in their living room every night, they felt like they knew me, even if I didn't know them. And social media works the same way. If they're following you on social media channels and they're constantly watching your posts and seeing your pictures and reading your articles, they feel like they know you. And so they want to weigh in. They want to give you that feedback. And the best thing you can do is encourage that. Ask questions. Get people talking. Give them scenarios where they're invited to participate in that conversation, because giving feedback feels good to us as humans. And again, if you can create a scenario where that's welcome and people can be active with you in that way, that starts to make that connection with you and really makes them feel good about being on your page. And then the last thing that memorable stories do is that they tie into what people are talking about anyway, right? They always tie into things that are going on in the community or in the world. Sometimes there are those things that even if you don't care, everyone's talking about them anyway. Sometimes for me that's, I don't know, the Super Bowl, or maybe it's the election, or it's daylight savings time, or back to school. If you can tie your content into those things, then people start talking to you more. People start getting more involved because they're talking about those things with their friends and family anyway. And so now they include you in those conversations. And that can be a big bonding experience for them. So a lot of times when we're talking about creating these stories or these posts, we think about what is the right mix of stuff to put on there. Do I just share a bunch of articles I found, or do I have to write a bunch of original stuff because I don't have time for that? Or can I sell my products and services? Can I drive action to a webinar I'm hosting or a product I want them to check out? And yes, all of those things are good. And here's the mix that we like to use at our agency. 40% of your content is original content. It's you telling your story. And that could be a blog post. It could be a video you made. It could just be a picture of you out doing something or meeting with someone. It could be a post with a fact that comes from your business or an area of expertise that you can demonstrate. But 40% should be about you, because otherwise all of you could have the exact same Facebook page. And we could just put articles, industry articles up there, and that's fine, and it might do some stuff for your credibility, but you're going to be missing that authenticity piece, that telling me what it's like to do business with you, to connect with you. And that's really vital for social media to be successful. So good news, another 50% of the content can be curated. It can be articles you find from industry resources you read, or you know, the Wall Street Journal or Business Week, things like that. It can be any kind of magazine article or video or content other people produce that you can share. So this is you becoming a resource for your fans, right? Not everything has to be original to you. You can also be a conduit where they can get good industry information, good facts and stats and stuff they can learn. And then the last 10%, I think, can be promotional. You can drive action to a product or a service or a free consultation or an event you're having. You can ask people to take action on that, as long as you keep it to a smaller percentage of your overall content. If you have social media where 90% of your content is promotional, sometimes people will tune out pretty quickly because they don't get a chance to get to know you. They don't establish that know, like, and trust factor before you start pitching them, right? You can't go in with that attitude. You have to have 90% of it be good quality content, and 10% of it says, okay, now that I've been valuable to you, I need you to do something for me. So that's the mix we stick with in our agency. It tends to work pretty well. It's not a hard and fast rule. A lot of social media is experimentation. A lot of it is iterative. It's trying things. It's seeing what your fans react to and then tweaking your strategy a little bit. It's kind of a living, breathing thing as you go along. And Dan, I know that you have had really good success with your social media and have put some of these things into practice. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. First off, the last two slides are worth their weight in gold. So I love the formula, the 40, 50, 10. And then you like with certain clients, you don't always stick to that. Potentially, sometimes you may tweak them, correct?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I'd love to do is I'm going to backtrack to the memorable stories. What I'd love to do, if this is okay with you, I'm totally putting you on the spot. We've got we've got some time set aside today. I want to take advantage of you being the social media consultant, speaker, advisor, and me being the loan officer that's down in the trenches. And I'll be the first one to admit this. Listen, I was an early adopter of social media. I do not consider myself an expert. I do not consider myself a pro. What I did, I got in the mortgage industry at the end of 2008. And in 2009, I went to the internet to learn how to sell. Bottom line, I went to YouTube, wow. I went to the internet, and then Facebook started to evolve and become a bigger platform. And I saw it early on with, I got introduced to a guy by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk early on, read the book Crush It, and just started following him on Twitter. And this guy, he earned my respect early on as, hey, this social media thing is going to be big. This internet thing, if you leverage it, you can make a lot of money. And so what I found out, there was nobody in the real estate and lending communities online, on social, really on the internet. There was a couple of bloggers that I followed, and that was about it. And so I guess I would like to say I'm just an early adopter that's probably done a lot of things wrong, but I've had some pretty good people to follow, and I think you hit it on the head last night when we were talking. You don't like it when people call you the expert or the guru because it's such a fast-paced, ever-changing business. I mean, shoot, tomorrow there's going to be a new social platform. I mean, just look at recently with Instagram, how Instagram blew up, and then Snapchat now. And so what I'd love to do real quick, I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'd love to have you take these last 2 slides, apply it to a mortgage loan officer like myself that's down in the trenches, and do a real quick coaching call. What do you think about that?
I'm in. Let's do it. Sure.
Okay. So as far as like memorable stories, let's start with bullet point number 1. And I'm just going to say, hey, I'm going to give you an example of maybe some things that I've done or things that we could do as mortgage loan officers. And so a listener may be saying, well, I get this, memorable stories. I'm not a writer. I'm not a news anchor. I'm not a journalist. I don't speak as well as you, or I don't have the ability to do that. So how do I add value? So here's an example. Instead of posting on social media that, hey, interest rates are low, if you want to buy or sell or refinance, reach out to me. Instead of something like that, maybe post a graph, a chart, screenshot a graph, and we have access to this, and see something along the lines of, or post an article and say, hey, mortgage rates are at 3-year lows. Now with home values up, now may be a good time to look at your mortgage or have a mortgage planning review. What do you think about that? What do you think about that strategy?
I like that. I don't think every post should ask for the meeting, right? So sometimes it's just a matter of saying, you know, mortgage rates are low. Here's what that means for you, or here are the things you should be thinking about right now. And then I understand that if I need to talk to somebody, you're available to me. I think sometimes people push too hard rather than just saying, here's the information. You know, you need to know about this. And I think one of the great things about adding value in your industry is a lot of people don't understand it. We all say, oh yeah, I have a mortgage. You know, I know what that's about. But Dan, without your help, I wouldn't know how to choose a mortgage or what I should be looking at and what the best deal is, right? And so the more you can teach me, here's how you know it's time to consider making a change or refinancing, or, you know, here's how you figure out what you can afford, or here's, you know, what you should be thinking about, or questions to ask your loan advisor, right? Arm me with 3 things I should go into that meeting asking them. And the more you can empower your fans and make them feel like they're better in this industry because you've helped them, that does wonders to build their relationship with you.
I love that. I love that. So I love focusing on what that means to our followers and our connections versus just presenting the data. You know, Kristen Meserly, she's a gal that I've spent a lot of time following, and I've interviewed her a couple times. She's been on the Tuesday Mortgage Coach calls. She is a millennial expert. Does a lot with diverse populations and millennials, and she says the same thing. Spend the majority of your time empowering the millennial, empowering you know, your follower, your future client, so that they're brighter, they're more intelligent as a result of that connection. So I love that. So okay, so then the second bullet point, then raise questions. You had a rule in your business. I have a rule in my business. It's called the 2Q rule. If I get a question from a client that more than one client asks me, for example, how do we get our funds to close to escrow? I learned early on in my career that was coming up a lot. Well, so I did a video. Now it's a part of our process that our loan processor sends out to the client 2 weeks and a week before closing. Here's exactly how you get your down payment funds to escrow, and then let them know who's going to reach out to them. So a 2Q rule, if you have a question that continues to surface, talk about it, answer it, and share the answers to that question. It's kind of like a did you know. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that. I actually do that in my own business too. We do a social media tip of the day, and people write in. We have a separate email set up, And people write in with the questions they have, and we just pick some and answer them in a video every day.
Love it.
And that can do a lot to let people, A, feel heard, right? If people have questions, they really can get the answers quickly. And also paint yourself as the expert, right? The fact that you can just open it up to questions and you know the answers does a lot to build your credibility and make you a resource. It sort of is like 3 birds with 1 stone. You know, it does all the things that good social media does all at once. And it doesn't, some people might not be as comfortable as you are on video, and it may not have to be a video. It could be just a post or a graphic you make or something like that. But I love the idea of thinking about the questions that your clients have regularly and putting out the information to sort of make them feel like, oh, this isn't a dumb question. Everybody has this question, and here's the answer, you know?
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of realtor lunch and learns. And that's the one question I get from real estate agents is like when I talk about blogging and when I talk about social media content, they're like, well, I just don't know what to write about and I'm not a great writer. And well, first off, they're thinking of excuses why not to do something that they should be doing.
Sure.
So we got to get past that first. But the second part of it is I ask them, I say, how long does an inspection normally take? And they're like, well, it can take about, 2 to 3 hours. I said, what goes on in an inspection? Like, what does the inspector do? Does he, like, climb up on the roof? Does he crawl on, what does he do, or he or she do? And then they tell me about it. And I say, well, how much does an inspection cost? And in a 3-minute conversation, I just generated content that I guarantee every home buyer that's buying a home that is going to do a home inspection will have. Those are questions that everybody will ask either their real estate agent or go to Google and look up. So content is at our fingertips. It's just, as loan officers, gosh, we have so much information to share, especially with how the market's moving and what's happening in the market, home values, get it out. Just if something comes up, if a client asks a question, put it on paper and write about it. The third bullet point, though, is get people talking. So that kind of involves a little bit of talent because in order to get people talking, you've got to make a statement. So what are some tips to get people talking specifically to, let's talk about the mortgage industry. Right now, rates are back down at historic lows. We've got home values up here in Seattle. Home values are going through the roof. So we've got low rates, home values increasing at a very high rate and very low inventory. So what do you think from getting people talking standpoint, what would be a good approach from a loan officer standpoint?
Well, I think you have to think about, what happens when you go to barbecues on the weekends, and people are always talking about the housing market and what's happening, and what are the kinds of things they're trying to discuss with you. Because I think it's fair to ask questions of your fans, and again, I'm not a mortgage expert, I'm going to leave that to you, but something like, what would have to happen in the market to get you thinking about moving or thinking about refinancing or doing something different, in your current situation? What do these numbers mean to you from an emotional standpoint? Because I'm not thinking about moving, but I'm still interested in what the housing market's doing. I'm still interested in what rates are doing, right? And I think getting people to see how that can impact their lives, even if they're not ready to take action right away. And those are the kinds of conversations that can help around your business. It's also, it doesn't always have to be about the housing market or the loan market. It could be about, we're going to have new leaders of the country pretty soon. What is that going to mean for your industry? We're going to have different times of year are coming. Is there seasonal information that you can tie into about your industry? So those type things. What are people talking about in the carpool line or at the barbecue on the weekends that also could segue into something they should know about your area of expertise and the mortgage industry?
Got it. No, that certainly would get people talking. Politics right now is the easiest way to, get in a brawl online and certainly get people talking depending on your approach. But I think you hit it right on the head. Depending on who comes into office, it will impact the markets. Period. So.
Right.
That's a great approach there. Okay, so I want to go to the next slide, the right mix. And so I'm going to fast forward. I took your slide right here, the 40, 50, 10, And first off, again, I want to go back to this disclaimer. Listen, these are some of the things that I'm doing in my business personally, with permission of our company. So at New American Funding, where I'm at, this is okay. Please check with your own compliance department to make sure that you're not breaking any rules or getting yourself in trouble. But I took your slide and your 40/50, the right mix slide, and kind of shared some of the things that I'm doing. So as far as telling your story, if you were to go to my personal Facebook page, Twitter account, or Instagram account, the story that I tell, I don't post something without thinking about it first. Okay.
Right.
So I get and coach me through this. Tell me if my approach is off or wrong. But I'm very deliberate with what I approach. My story, if you follow me, you're going to know that I've been married to my wife for about 12 years. I'm absolutely head over heels infatuated with her, in love with her. I love Jesus Christ. I've got 2 kids. I love baseball. I came from the college coaching platform before I ended mortgage lending. And those are about, and we love to fish. I'm always, if I'm not in the office and not coaching baseball with my son, we're out on the water fishing. And so if you follow me, you kind of know that's Dan Keller. And oh, by the way, I'm a successful mortgage loan originator, and I'm very passionate about the real estate and mortgage lending markets. And so every post that I make is around that. So I'm always trying to tell a story. And every post factors into that. The other thing is the second bullet point, becoming a resource. I post valuable content. So when I post on my social networks, I'm also the co-host of Seattle Real Estate Radio. It's something that, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not a huge moneymaker, but it's a credibility booster, and it's a content. Sure. All I do is create content. I use it. We bring in very valuable guests, and it's a content provider. And so with mediums like that, using Mortgage Coach, one of the things, listen, if you're listening to this call or watching it on a recording, if you're using Mortgage Coach, you clearly understand this. The platform they've provided to us, it's compliant. It's an easy way to send out loan options, simple loan options to the public that really opens their eyes to the transparency of our industry, the transparency of the process, and it simplifies it. It's easy to understand. So using Mortgage Coach, using a resource that Mortgage Coach offers every single day with Dan Rawich and Rate Watch, that has provided a ton of value. I'm not an economist. I don't know. I don't follow stocks and bonds and know the intricacies of each. But listening to Dan Rawich every single morning, understanding what the market's doing and where it's heading, it positions me to my clients as an advisor, somebody that really knows what's going on, somebody I can go to. I can tell you how many calls I get. Hey, what do you think the market's doing this week? Well, I go back and I watch my Rate Watch calls. I look at the bond market, how it's performing that day through Rate Watch, and that's through Mortgage Coach. So using resources like that, and then using the news, things that are happening in the news. I think Wells Fargo just got, settled or got sued for, what was it, $1.2 billion for mishandling FHA loans. Using news and the media to re-syndicate that information and to talk about it and say, hey, while the bigger banks are no longer doing government loans, possibly because of this, we are. We care about our veterans. We care about our first-time home buyers that need to leverage FHA. And so using the media, I've been writing as a mortgage writer, I have a blog. So I personally have a blog. You don't need to go and set up a WordPress blog. You can use the LinkedIn platform to blog and create your own content. And then I use video. So, what are your thoughts around those 2 bullet points so far?
Well, I think, I know you get business off your social media, and I don't think that's a secret why. You're doing a great job. And using the news and tying into those current news stories, that is getting people talking, right? We were just talking about examples of that. That is doing that effectively. And I think, the best thing that you have done in your social media is really approach it strategically and say, what story am I trying to tell, and what kinds of posts would support that story? because I think the last thing any loan officer should do is wing it, right? Posting on your social media is like talking to a room full of prospects and customers who have said they'll let you tell them about your business. I'm interested. Tell me more. Because they've opted in by liking that page, by following you. And so you do have to give some thought to what elements of my personal life, my real self, do I want to share to tell the overall story, and what are my areas of expertise professionally that I can work in, and where can I add value to the news that's going on, or the things in the industry. So I think that's number one. And then number two, mixing that personal stuff in, I think, is important. And if you're willing to do that, it will make you more successful on social media, because it's that know, like, and trust factor. Dan, we've never met, but I know what your wife looks like, right? I know where you go on date nights because I've watched your social media, right? And that makes me feel like we could be friends. I feel closer to you because of that. And that's the know, like, and trust factor that then makes me think, well, if I had a question about my mortgage, I could just ask Dan, because he seems so willing to answer it, and he has all this knowledge, and he's a nice guy. I've seen you doing videos in what looked like the Costco parking lot. I go to Costco. We have that in common. It's this. It seems silly when we're just talking about it like this, but it really is human nature to feel deeper connections to people we think we share something with. And I think that's one of the amazing things that social media has done for us, is it's given us a level of connection to our prospects and our customers that we've never had in the past, and allowed our work lives and our personal lives to kind of mingle a little bit more. And I'm not saying that my fans on social media know everything about me as a person, but just like you, they do know about my husband, and they know about my dogs, and they know what I'm interested in outside of work, because some of them are interested in it too, and that gives us some common ground. I think that's a part that a lot of people are afraid of, and they try to stay away from, and it really does them a disservice. You really do have to let that in a little bit if you're going to make this really successful.
No, I think the connection's big. I think the connection, whether I mean, like you made a reference to a barbecue. If you were to show up to a neighborhood barbecue, you want to connect with people. You didn't just show up to just stand there and talk to one person. You want to connect with people, and you talk to people that you have things in common with, or you hear them talking about something, and then you extend that conversation. I think that's big. I think what I see, and what I did, I don't want to say I did it wrong. I see a lot of real estate agents and lenders doing this wrong. It's instead of that 40, 50, 10, it's like 50, 60 promotion. So instead of 10% promotion, it's heavily, hey, I'm doing an open house this weekend. Hey, I appreciate your referrals. If you want to buy or sell, call me. Hey, it's a picture of their business card, versus you haven't. I think what I love about your approach is tell your story, become a resource. So it's just like Gary Vaynerchuk in his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. It's give, give, give. And when you provide enough value and you give, you then set yourself up to ask for the business. And and I think by telling your story, becoming a resource, you're putting yourself in a position to then, when you do sell, as you're selling or you're promoting, hey, you're an advisor. Well, heck yeah, I want to listen to Dan, or I want to come to one of Dan's events and learn more, because, geez, man, it looks like he knows what he's talking about. He follows the market. He's in the trenches every single day. When the market moves, I do a quick 1-minute video. He's on top of things, and I want to work with a guy like that. So, which brings me to my last bullet point: promote. So anytime I do promotion, it's very rarely am I, hey, now's a good time to refinance, now's a good time to purchase, rates are low, buy, let's go. It's always driving them to something of value, whether it be a client appreciation event. Every other month I do a wine and wisdom event where I open it up to my past client database, but I open it up to anybody on social media as well to come out. And I host, I provide the appetizers and the drinks, and I bring in a financial planner, or I bring in an attorney or a CPA, and we have a glass of wine and some appetizers and talk about something that will add value to their life or their home ownership experience. We do monthly home buyer classes, things like that. So if I am promoting, I'm promoting myself as an educator, as a giver. It doesn't cost anything to come to these events. You're going to get a ton of value, and you're going to get a meal and a glass of wine or a beer, or a drink. So that's kind of how I promote. Do you have any commentary around the promote? If you are going to promote your business, how to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so my rule of thumb is I wouldn't say anything on social media that I wouldn't say to someone face-to-face at a networking event or a mixer or a dinner party, right? So there are times when people ask about my business and I want to tell them how to work with me. And I would say that to someone's face. But it's not a hard sell. And the same kind of language I use around, hey, you know, come to my office. Maybe we'll sit down and I can tell you more. Or let's go over your social media together. That's the same language I use on social media. It's not really that different than trying to sell someone in real life. If you act like a used car salesman and go in for the hard sell, that's just as offensive when you're typing on social media as it is in person. And so you have to soften that approach. But I think for me, I get a lot of business off my social media too, and I think one of the things that's made me successful is recognizing the opportunities to take the relationship further. So we talked earlier about the fact that we're both doing videos where people ask us questions and we answer them in videos or you answer them in posts. Well, when that happens and I get an email from someone with a question, I then make that video or make that post and I send it to them directly and say, hey, I posted this on social media, but I wanted to make sure you saw it since it's your question. Here you go. Please let me know if this answers it for you. And if you have other questions, let's chat. Let's talk further. And just open the door to, I can be a personal resource for you. And maybe that conversation leads to, okay, let's work together in some way, or let's take the next step. And so I think, you know, sometimes people just are tempted to answer the questions that come in on social media just by typing the response or posting the video and then not saying, oh, wait, that person's a lead, right? That person is somebody who cares enough to want more information. And if I make myself available enough to them, this could go somewhere. And so you do have to sort of take the next step. They're sort of in the pipeline now. And so recognizing those opportunities and not screaming it out to everybody, but fostering those relationships one-on-one when they pop up.
So that's my big aha from today right there. And I just made a bunch of lines under this, under that. Recognize the opportunity to take your relationship further. So you're listening in. We all work with real estate agents. Most of us do. This is an awesome opportunity to listen for a need, recognize an opportunity. If a real estate agent says something to you in a conversation when you're making your weekly calls to them, or if you see something that they post online about looking for something. Recently, there was a real estate agent that was looking for movers for a client, and I reached out and helped her identify some movers to help out. They weren't my clients, and I've never done a loan for this gal. But, you know, little things like that, that goes a long way. So I love what you just said there. The other thing that, another one of my big ahas, and I kind of want to wrap up with this, is your website is your credibility piece. Your social media is your authenticity piece. And that's so big. And up on the screen is my website. I've spent some money on this. Again, you got to look at your compliance department and the lending institution that you're with. I highly encourage you to have a good web presence in regards to a website. As far as your social media is concerned, I want to talk. Yelp is big. I know you referenced Yelp. I just put this slide up there too. It's great. I think in today's market, it's in our industry, a lot can go wrong. And so having a Yelp page is risky. But I think it's there, and Yelp's got great SEO. You know, these are just examples of some Facebook posts that I recently have posted. I mean, they got a lot of engagement, but every time I post, my wife's beautiful, but every time I post a picture of my wife or doing something with my wife, it always generates a few more likes. You know, a shot where I have the CEO of Porch.com, which is a huge company. They're Seattle-based. We had them on the radio show the other day. That got some really good engagement. But kind of how I want to wrap up the call with you is, and this is huge. This is we're coming full circle here, and I think this is where the listeners, loan officers, are going to get the most bang for their buck in the last hour. Everything that you've said, bringing it down to the bottom of the funnel, will you talk to me real briefly about, if somebody's checking you out on social media? So for example, we're loan officers, realtors may want to check us out. If you friend them up or if you do a transaction with them, they're going to go to your profile. I mean, there's numbers that show that people go to your profile and they read about you, they check you out. Am I accurate in saying that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's social proof. They want to make sure you're credible before they take it further.
So if you don't have an updated profile, meaning talking about yourself, telling your story there, I think that's strike one. I think you're losing business there. I've read statistics on some of the first two places people go to is they go to your profile and they go to your pictures. Okay, they're learning about you, and then so what you're taking pictures of. Again, be deliberate, be cautious what you're posting, and the third thing, your stream. And I ask myself this question all the time: would I like this person that I'm posting? Would I like this person? Before I post something, how would I like to see this showing up in my stream? Would I pass by it? Would it catch my attention? And then what I'm hearing you say too, your content, generate conversations. You said this too, engagement. I use Zig Ziglar saying you got to be a friend to have a friend. What are your thoughts on engagement?
Well, I think engagement is essential, but let me say something about what you've said earlier. So first of all, bad social media is worse than no social media. So if your stuff isn't up to date or doesn't portray you in the best light, you'd be better off taking it down than leaving it like that, because it can actually hurt your credibility if somebody goes to it and it doesn't look good. So I think making sure that everything you have online does put you out there the way you want to be put out there is essential. Number two, when people go to like your Facebook page, something like that, and check you out, they're going to go there one time. You're basically, you have that one shot to make the first impression. And you're right, they're going to look at your pictures, they might read your about section, who knows. But then they're going to decide whether to be friends with you or whether to like the page and see you in their news feed from then on. So you've got one shot to really, make that connection. And then regarding engagement, sometimes people get too bogged down in it. Let's put it that way, because there are multiple types of engagement on social media. And if we just take Facebook as an example, somebody can like, comment, or share your post, right? And that's visible engagement, and that's good. I think a highly engaged audience is a tool for you. But people forget about the other types of engagement that you don't see as regularly. You have to go in the analytics to see them, and that's people clicking through to your website, people watching your videos or reading the articles you post. And sometimes people may not hit like or comment on my post, but I got 25 people to click through to my website, and that's just as valuable, if not more so, for me.
Yep.
So especially on a business page, when you're watching those analytics, don't forget about the engagement that isn't necessarily in those vanity numbers, right? And also remember that I would rather have 300 fans that like me, have that credibility, have that connection with me and would use me and refer me to their friends than 3,000 fans who didn't care about me.
Yeah.
So those numbers are ego to a certain extent, right? The number is not important. It's how your fans feel about you.
Well,
and so the reason go ahead.
Go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
I was just going to say the reason I like to see a lot of engagement is because you at least know that your fan base is with you. They're into what you're saying. They're trying to engage you. And so that is helpful to know. You don't ever want to be that guy that just goes past in the news feed and nobody interacts with it.
Yeah.
But the numbers are not as important to me as the activity is.
Well, I said this on stage at Sales Mastery. This is huge. I have 1,500 friends on Facebook. I don't have 1,500 friends. There's no way I have 1,500 friends in real life. I have 8. Sure. So your job is, when you post, it's going to get seen. It's going to get seen. And when you post, know it's going to get seen, even if you don't get that like. And that kind of comes down to number 6, getting tagged by clients and real estate agents. Ask your clients to tag you. And it helps get your message out. It helps you, if you will, go a little bit more viral quicker. So, hey, I want to wrap up. Katie, great call today. I want to encourage everybody. What's your website, Katie? It's katiewagnersocialmedia.com. Is that it?
It is. It is, yeah.
You do social media consulting and training. If you want more information on how to build your brand, how to connect with your audience and engage, Katie is the person I highly encourage a conversation with. She does one-on-one coaching. She does group coaching. Reach out to Katie. Hey, Dave Savages is in Washington, D.C. with the Mortgage Coach crew advocating on our behalf. And I want to thank Dave for the opportunity to fill in for him, and thank Dave Savage and the Mortgage Coach crew for everything they do for us and our industry. Katie, you have been an absolute pleasure, a blessing. I'm looking forward to following you. Thank you so much for your feedback and your input. Do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to that we may have missed that you'd like to cover?
No, I think we covered it. It's been a pleasure being with you this morning, and if anybody wants to have a further conversation, I'm open to that. I love to talk about this stuff, and I love to help. So feel free to reach out.
Reach out to Katie. Push your questions. Reach out to us with any questions you have. We'll get back to you. And thank you so much for your time this morning, Katie. Thank you all for joining in, and we'll see you all next Tuesday.